Sometimes you want to feel good, like no matter what happens, everything's going to be okay. That everything happens for a reason. That behind every cloud, there's a silver lining. And sometimes you want to be told the truth, that sometimes life sucks, but that isn't actually a bad thing. It's kind of the whole point. So here are 5 movies that make you happy to be sad. Studio Ghibli is known for taking us on wondrous escapes into everyday life. The actual magic is just soot sprites on the cake. My Neighbor Totoro epitomizes the mundane and the fantastic, all the way down to its name. It follows the story of 2 young sisters, Satsuki and Mei, who are forced to live in the countryside away from home because their mother's struggling with illness, her future uncertain. They find solace in the wilderness near their house where forest spirits roam, as a place to both avoid and battle their fears. Picasso said that art was a mirror pretending to be a window, and the wilderness of Totoro's realm is the wild, surprising nature of the human heart, reminding us that as temporary and fragile as we are, the sprites and cat buses of our innocence and youth and hope are always within reach, just beyond the trees. My Girl is an endearingly glum slice of childhood that's heavy in its realism because its main character is in the pre-prime of her life and has a preoccupation with death. We often see childhood as a time of innocence, when actually it's more like innocence decomposing. And since growing up is a succession of air punches and gut punches that show us that life really has no meaning beyond the one we provide it, our biggest lesson is often the one that we thought we'd already learned. And that's how My Girl feels. It just makes so much horrible, unlucky, believable sense. It's the worst kind of comforting. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is about missed opportunities, about the potential in all of us to learn from our mistakes, to choose trying over being safe, to choose the unknown and the unknowable beauty it can bring, to avoid regret not by brushing it aside but by sneaking up on it. The Girl Who Leapt follows the small-town adventure of a teen girl in Japan who gains the power to move through time, and like anyone with the wealth of youth or time, she immediately and irreparably wastes it, only to realise that she's wasted so much more than it was possible for her to know. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is about realising that the opportunity you'll really kick yourself for missing is the next one. Imagine if you could see the bad things coming and then have time to say goodbye. That's about time. A wish fulfillment fantasy for a normal, nice life. We follow the story of Tim as he realises he's inherited the ability to travel backwards in time and repeat his life over and over at will. He can remove the nerves from the exciting days and find comfort in the monotony of the boring days. Through Tim, we can imagine how we might appreciate our lives if we weren't so caught up in living them. This movie's for all those times we feel like something's been taken from us or skipped over or destroyed without our permission. And it's about the beautiful, painful, impossible potential that we could take some of those things back. Not so that they never happened, but so that we have time to be grateful for them before it's too late. About Time is pre-grief, it's re-love, and it's a hell of a reminder. Ghost is the story of boy knows girl, then girl loses boy, and that's it. It's about the limits of life and love and death. But unlike most films that deal with death, Ghost is about the person that dies. We follow Sam Wheat trying to figure out what's happened to him after he's killed, and then stays around long enough to become aware of it. His journey from victim to hero is one we can admire and aspire to because it's one we can never take. Unlike us, Sam Wheat is able to consider his death in hindsight. This makes for a rich and tender film experience with timeless performances and a wry sense of humour. The sentimentality of a dead man playing hero to his living love holds its ground against darker reflections on the mediocrity of death and the permanency of loss. Ghost is an antidote to fear and ennui because it helps us to believe that maybe death is a choice. I think heaven would be a pretty boring place. I mean, if everything's always so good up there, eventually good wouldn't be good enough. Because without the bad to compare it to, good sucks. Bad is what makes good matter. But that's hard to see when you're right in the thick of it. So these movies are here to remind us that if the good is good and the bad makes the good good, then really, it's all good.